did a whole thing where she followed the tutorials, make randomly generated buildings. I feel bad about that. I also don't know where it is. I don't know if she put it in. It's in the assets. Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe it's on her timeline. Anyway, you want me to? You said you wanted me to zip it to you or something? Okay. Yeah. Let me whatever I put for the license. So just opening it up. Sure. And I'll do it, but yeah. I don't want to like. I want to create a new. Wait, if I zip this, is it gonna zip it? Okay, yeah. 7 seconds. Press. Yep, there it is. Dot. So here we go. Well, this game has a lot of potential. Fundamentally fun premise. It'll not fire. Yes, we did do that. What's your email address again? There we go. I did guess. Okay. Like you can't see. Okay. Change how this file is shared. Okay. That's not. In a file called what inside other? License inside nothing. Just the same directory as all these figures. Oh. What goes in other again? Credits and contact information. Like there's some other stuff. Which one is the cool demon, quote unquote? Oh yeah, there it is. What? Organ? Great. Okay. Yep. If you hold down space, you start. Yeah.
How are the uploads going? All right. Good back there. Who's not done yet? Anyone not done yet?
I'm not really done.
Okay. I will.
We need to re-upload ours.
I will. We can wait a couple more minutes, and we can have you guys not go first.
What? I think so. Set up. I think these animations aren't working. What? Yeah. Like none of them. And I don't think it's. I think it's just because it's not annoying. It doesn't work. It's gonna take like 5 minutes to reset this though. It's just annoying. Go. See if this works. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Animations work. Yeah. Do you remember how many demons there are?
Okay. Shall we go ahead and get the, I guess you might call them closing ceremonies of this Global Game Jam started? So, congratulations. You have just survived 2 days of game development. Yeah, definitely deserves a round of applause. So of course, before we wrap this up, we got to see, what has been accomplished in the last couple of days. So we're gonna get each team or game to come up here, um, plug into the projector, show us your game. Uh, don't forget when you do to tell us any diversifiers you managed to include in your game, and who all of your team members are, those who are here or those who are not here, so that we can kind of know who is responsible for all of this madness. Um, so basically, yeah, we're just gonna get demos of each of the games. Figure, spend maybe 5 minutes or so on each game, so that we can have a little bit of time after we've seen all of the games presented to go around and try them out. And so we'll have a chance to try them out. And then after you've had a little bit of time to try them out, I'll put up an online form where you can vote for your favorite, and the one that gets the most votes by people who, or percentage of people who are not part of that game. So basically, the favorite of everybody. Obviously, your game is the best. The question is, what's the best game besides yours out there that you get to play? And whichever game comes in the top on that, we have a little certificate to give you. So let's get it started with the first game. Who wants to show first? You're gonna go?
Yeah.
All right.
I have it on my laptop. Should I bring that up?
Probably the easiest thing is to bring your laptop up and plug it into this projector.
Sounds good.
If I'm going second, could I go ahead and just pull it up on the computer there now, Megan?
Sure. Do you have HDMI?
Is this that?
Yep.
That's the projector.
Which game is yours?
Yeah. What you
What-
doing there?
I'm setting up my game.
Oh,
just look at
okay.
this.
I see.
There you
Sorry, I'm confused. It's been a long 48 hours. It has. I am Brent McMurtry. I made a game called Chaos Signal. I'm gonna run it.
The streaming, it should be running, yes. If you go to youtube.com/UMBCGAIM/live, you should see us live. Yes, there is.
Oops. Hold on. I gotta start. I accidentally solved the puzzle. Okay. I don't know where sound's coming from, but it has two sounds. If you miss them, it's not too awful. So I thought of transmission being the theme. I thought of very first thing I thought of was making a game based around having some sort of radio gun. So if I shoot, I'm gonna accidentally solve the puzzle, so I'll explain that. There's a really twitchy door that you can't get through. You can walk around and jump. And that's not a light bulb. It looks like it. That's a little satellite. And it's connected to the door. And with enhanced electricity,
Oh, nice.
you shoot it, and it's sending little voltages to it, and that opens it. Might be kind of neat if I had a volunteer to play. Would anyone want to do that? Come on. Oh, I'll let you do it. What's your name?
Mark.
Hi, Mark. So, might not be a lot of room, but there. Make sure you click like on the screen with the mouse, and you can move around with these buttons, W, S, A, and D. I might click for you, okay? I might move around. Okay, so we ricocheted some of these bolts off of, bolts. We ricocheted some of the electricity wave things off the ceiling. It bounced into the satellite. It sent something to the TNT and it blew us up. So here's another puzzle. We're trying to get to that bottom flag. I'm not done.
Almost.
So yeah, that's another mechanic. That's a magnet, which needs to be pulled around.
Can you shoot while you're jumping?
Yeah. I'm gonna help him out. Oh, you got one. Nice. Hooray! You did it. Nice out. High five, Mark. Okay. That's my game. I think that's it.
Fine. Great.
Cool. Very good.
Thank you.
Oh, what diversifiers did you have?
I picked one, which was 30 seconds or less, because I wanted more levels. I had to stay satisfied with 2 levels.
Speedrun. Nice.
Right, the speed
There-
one.
yeah.
One.
There should be a spot for it.
Third time's enough speed one. Yeah, sure. We can pick. I could just throw in the song "Take on Me" by Haha. You know, I'm gonna do that because that is kind of a song.
Sorry.
By the way, I know I keep saying it, but I absolutely love these demons singing in a row like this.
Well, thanks for missing the dot net.
Yeah, that too. You did a really good job with it. I liked a lot of the designs that didn't use, though. That's the only thing. I like that.
It's okay. They'll happen eventually. There it is.
Yeah, they do.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Skylar,
Hi.
and I made Mind Upload Cardboard Edition. So I used the diversifier, everything being made of cardboard. And so this game is about controlling these little robots and trying to get to the end, sort of platforming your way through, switching between them. So you send like a mind transfer wave that when it hits another robot, they become the robot that you're controlling. Camera focuses on them. They have a different ability. Yeah, I'll show you guys. So something that a lot of people notice it's very similar to is a game that came out fairly recently called Getting Over It. It's really just this hammer bot though that it's like that. So here's the mind transfer wave. So we can take control of this guy and he can flip gravity. And we'll switch back so we can get the hammer and bot over here. Switch back. Would anyone else like to play? Come on up. So the controls, I went with really simplistic. Just the mouse. All you have to do is left mouse to use whatever the robot's ability is, and then right click to fire the wave at your cursor's location. So if you click this, the robot will swing his hammer. He alternates each swing. So if you click and hold it, you'll see he can push himself up. And he can alternate and swing up there. Let's see. Let's see if I can get that. Actually, I'll retry. And so the game doesn't have perfect physics. Throughout making it, I learned that Unity is not a very good 2D engine. Not at all. I had some really unusual glitches involving that hammer guy. I wanted to be able to have more than one, but anytime that I had more than one of him, or I moved him from his starting location, his physics became so messed up and he moved as though he was possessed. So that kind of went out the window. Oh, you're just a little bit out of range. So click, crawl back over there. Click and hold. There you go. Now you should be able to get him. And so some other mechanics that it has is that a green tile up there can be broken with the hammer. So let's see if she can make it up there. Oh. Don't let go. Get it. Oh, that's so close. You really got to commit when you start swinging it. Don't let go. Oh, did it get stuck? No. Yeah. So just click and hold, left, swinging. You should be able to get up there. Don't let go. Release it. One more click. Oh, there we go. Just keep holding while it swings to the left, and you should be able to make it up there. And then let go and go the other way. Don't let go. Whoa. And so here's the third type of robot that I added. My original plan was to have a ton of different varieties, but 48 hours, so 3 is enough. So go ahead and swing the hammer, and you can break that green tile there. And so what you're supposed to do here, actually, I'll let you work it out. I think you can figure it out. So these guys will push. There you go. And this is why I added a retry button right here. All right, well, I think that you guys get the gist of it. If you want to try and beat it for yourself, then when we're all going around playing, then come on by. Any questions? Any questions? What was the name of this again? Let me go back. It's Mind Upload Cardboard Edition. Mind Upload Cardboard Edition.
All right, who's next?
Can you give me like 1 minute? I just realized I
All right, come on. We just need to.
multiplayer does work. Make sure I didn't write it because the music or network. Yeah. I want to have some Well, on SoundCloud
Which works
too.
better.
Yeah.
Feels better.
Kind of weird.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hello.
So, spatially transmitted disease. The game.
Spatially transmitted. Or should we get 2 players?
Yeah, sure. So we made a 2-player game.
Turn down the volume.
So it's a 2-player game. So if 2 volunteers would like to come up and play against each other, awesome, me too. So basically, the whole point is to infect as many people as possible, and then whoever affects the most after, what, 45 seconds?
After 45 seconds.
Wins.
Okay, so.
So you can choose your color in the DCs.
And you can choose your disease type.
Yeah.
So
We found that if you add
this
enough
guy has
reverb
UMBC,
to an automaton, sometimes it sounds like an
so that's
opera
what choose
singer,
your color.
but a bad one. So obviously that's one of the diversifiers.
And then
We also did the
click like
rounded
you control yours
diversifier.
with WASD, and you control yours with arrow keys. And you have
The
to try to infect
diversifier?
as many people
Yeah,
as
there's the round
possible.
diversifier, the automaton, and
Your 45 seconds.
I don't remember.
same. What was the other diversifier? There was the rounded, the automaton.
But we just wrote them down too. That's important.
So you're trying to infect as many people as possible, and then these guys are doctors who are healing them. Not
No.
They're
Invincible.
they heal themselves.
Hashtag invincibility power up right over there.
Oh, and there's power ups. So there's a speed power up that makes you faster, invincibility, and
Wind. That makes you
Your opponent.
radius smaller. Radius of effect. Yeah.
And the black flag won again. Sorry, Europe. Okay.
So yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Beautiful. Yeah. Since we lacked an artist, it never stops.
Yeah, I just logged on.
Oh, and there is you can't play with more than 2 people over a network. But
Yeah. We set up like an online.
Yeah, from phone.
It's
an Android app.
They're gonna be plugged in over there.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you let it blow you up?
Yeah, I died. Like he fell over, but then he landed in the thing, so I still won.
Yeah, awesome. I decided to keep that in.
Okay, here we go. This is a homage to a computer game which, believe it or not, first came out in 1971, in which you are the captain of the Enterprise and you give commands to your crew to fly the Enterprise around the galaxy, destroy Klingons, rescue planets, all that sort of stuff. It is entirely done in text, running in a console window, so no 3D graphics, no 2D graphics. You get ASCII graphics, and that's the way it was when I was young, and we liked it. So, one diversifier, of course, that you get for free. Let me see if I can fix this. Since it's running in a command line. You guys see that a little bit better? Yeah. That I kind of get the customizable font and color and the contrast ratio for free. So I claim those two diversifiers. So you are Captain Quirk. Your job is to fly through the nebula and try to find deep space probes. And if you get enough of them, then you can reconstruct an alien transmission and save the day. So this is your local area. You're the E in the middle. That's the star down there at the bottom. And you issue commands just by typing in text. So let's do long range scan. This is my immediate area. This one is us. These ones, they could be stars, they could be probes, or they could be Klingons. So we're going to ask Mr. Speck to tell us where the nearest probe is. And we'll move in that direction. So I'm going to go to coordinates 100 and 100x, 40y. Got there. See what we see. Doesn't seem to be anything there. So it looks like we're getting a little bit closer to that probe. Oh, we found a Klingon. So we'll see where he is. Oh, he's somewhere around here. Let's see, back up. He was at 108.29. So let's head off in that direction. Uh-oh. We found the Klingon and he found us. Oh, there he is. So we can shoot torpedoes at him. We shoot a torpedo 180 degrees from north. Whoops, that's the wrong key. Let's try this. Got him. And fly around the galaxy, hunt for the probes, try not to get blown away by the Klingons. And if you can collect 3 probes, then you can ask Mr. Speck to decode the message, and then you win.
So why didn't you change the name of the Klingons?
Because I put them in there at maybe about 11 o'clock this morning, and my brain is fried. Yeah, I got a few. There's still a couple minor bugs and things to clean up, so I may change it when I upload it again. But that's the game. Feel free to sit there and play. Oh.
Still at 10.
Yeah. So
There we go.
Oh, fine. Good catch.
Dad thinks he's so smart, ranking an old game. My game's even older. Back before we had graphics, we had dice and cards. So there it is, SETI, the card game. You can see my interpretation of the transmission theme was the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, scanning through millions of radio sources, trying to find something that even vaguely resembles an intelligent transmission. And so there it is. A whole bunch of little cards. There's these little screens that your players each have. There's this thing over here with all these little colored dots and stuff on it. What does it all mean? So each player has essentially a radio telescope facility represented by one of these little screens, and it's got this little grid down here. This grid is where they are going to generate at the beginning of a game a random radio signal, and they're going to put little colored blocks down in here to represent that signal. Will look remarkably like that. They will want to try and replicate this signal on that larger grid, which we'll see again here in a second. They're going to do that by playing these cards. The colors are important as well. The three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Sadly, a year ago when I bought all the little cubes, I didn't know that I needed green and orange and purple, so I don't have them, so I'm just using these little blonde blocks. But they represent the secondary colors. So if they're in between these primaries, red and yellow, this block actually represents orange. And between blue and yellow, this block actually represents green. That is important because out here, this is the common carrier wave. That's what all of the players are going to be manipulating, endeavoring to make this pattern look like the pattern that they have on their tiny little grid. And whoever can do that first will be the winner of the game, because they will have discovered a radio signal that is actually intelligible, and it's I Love Lucy from outer space or some such. All of these little blocks here are going to start down here at the bottom, not even in the numbers yet. And how do you get into the numbers? That's what the cards are for. So you're going to have a whole deck of cards. Everybody gets their own deck, and they're going to have sets within them that have different values. So there's value 3 set that has 3 cards in it, a value 4 set that has 4 cards, so on and so forth, all the way up to a 7-card set with a value of 7. And what you are trying to do, there's the back of the cards, yay, is make sets. So you're going to play cards from your hand out onto the table. You're trying to make a set that has a number of cards in it equal to the value. So this is a 5 cards with value 5, that makes a set. And when you finish a set, you collect that setup off, and you get one of these special bonus tokens, which will let you do interesting things to the tokens over on that carrier wave grid we saw. Every time you play a card out here, you get to move one of those little tokens up or down on that grid by 1 space. Every time everybody else plays a little card out there, they're changed. So you're constantly changing that carrier wave up and down, trying to make your code match that big code, but everybody else is trying to do the same thing, and you don't know what their codes are because you can't see it. So, hopefully, you will decipher the signal and discover extraterrestrial intelligence, and maybe they'll even be friendly. So, in a nutshell, that is it. They don't have a gameplay video to show you, but the game is all set up in back there. When we're all done with presentations, anybody who wants to come by and kick the tires and give it a whirl is free to do so. Ta-da!
have a 4-player game, so we have 4 players. Anyone can just come up. Yep. Just grab a controller. And the goal of the game is each player has the ability to teleport from one location to the other. And the goal of the game is to defeat all the other players by catching them within the transmission between the 2 locations you teleport from. Just everyone press start. Somebody's not joined it. Press this button.
There you go.
Alright, so this game also has the power down diversifier because the first to 10 wins the game, but every time you win a match, it increases the cooldown that you have on teleporting, making it so that you don't want to miss. Also, every time you defeat somebody in a match, it gives you a speed boost.
Oh, okay. Now it's
You said it was the first to 10?
Yes.
Okay, it might take a while.
yeah,
It
that's a little
might. Well.
Maybe first to 5?
Yeah. I might change it so that it's I might scale it with how many players are playing.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll play first to 4. And then if anyone else wants to play, they can play it on the computer later. It's I called it KIT, which stands for Killed in Transmission, because you're killing them within the transmission.
Player 1's at 3. Player 3's at 3. Oh,
Right.
player 1.
Player 1 wins. Which of you is player one? Who's next?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we didn't exactly make a game. We took a little bit of liberty with the theme, in that it's this transmission. We were interested in this idea of playing a game collaboratively, sort of over the internet. So what we ended up building instead was we built this thing we call Universal Input, which is a set of applications that extend games. So I just found this game online on itch.io. It allows you to control the game using a dice. Like in this case, I have my phone hooked up. So basically the way it works, you sort of bind there's an agent that runs sort of local to the system running the game. And it basically functions as the controller. So it's going to send inputs to the game. I actually spent a little bit of time early Saturday morning, so you guys can come over and look at it. I'm actually built a custom controller. So this is an Xbox controller I hacked apart, and I stuck a microcontroller in it so that I can manually actuate this controller. So the computer thinks the controller is being pushed, but I'm manually actuating it over the internet. So when I hit things on the phone, it actually tells this to do stuff. So any X input game, so like any Unity game, any game that's here basically can be controlled this way. We added a couple of features too. In particular, we went for the high contrast diversifier, simple input diversifier. So the controls you get are simple buttons. So let's see, I gotta find. So that one is right. Let's see. Oh, it just changed. That's hot. Okay, left and right. Okay, so basically, I have the buttons. When I tap the button on my screen, it sends an input to the thing, so it's actually sending inputs to the controller. Right now, this game only has 4 controls. It's left, right, down, and A. A is hop. But what's cool about it is it has a bunch of stuff for making basically any game multiplayer. So right now, I'm controlling all the controls in this game. But if like one of my teammates gets on, in real time, the controller will update. Yeah, so now I only have 2 buttons, right? So now what's happened is Gary has a couple of the buttons, and I have a couple of buttons. Now we have to try to play this game together. So see, I have, yeah, what do I have? I have, I think I have, yeah, I have jump. Okay, cool. Okay.
I guess I have down.
Yeah. Am I always going right, maybe? Oh, John, do you have right?
I think I've got. I think I've got some. Do I have some? Are you sure you have some?
I'm not pushing anything. Are we always going right?
I think we're always going right. That's okay.
Oh,
This game is
jump.
about going right.
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah.
work with it.
Anyways, there's a bunch of different modes. We have this set up in a mode right now where it randomizes the buttons periodically, so you're playing for a while and then it'll randomly change. There's modes where it will show you the controls. There's modes where it won't show you the controls, and it's all configurable. So it's actually really easy to do this. I'll pull that up just as a demo, or just to show. So it's actually really easy to set this up. We wrote these little config files. So this whole game, like binding this, is basically nothing more than just saying, I want to play this game, and then some details about, for the game control, it's a little more complicated because you have to like set some device parameters up. But basically, you just say, I'm an X input controller, and my game has these inputs. And the system handles the rest. We publicly host a relay server to handle all this. So sort of when you start up a game, as you can see, it's running down here, and then I have some bug stuff going just so I can make sure that we actually get input. But basically, the way this works is when you're binding the game, you hook it up to what we call a relay server, which we're hosting, and the relay server knows any number of games because they're separated by room. So you actually specify a room when you start the system up, and then when you first log in on the phone, you have to specify a room you want to join. So after I'm done, I'll put some information up. I'll leave this demo running, and I'll put some information up. I'll write it up on the whiteboard where to go to get the controller. If you have a phone or a computer, you can pull the page up and sort of join the session. And so yeah, so like I said, we have a couple different games. We tried to catalog, and if you like go to our games page, we have a catalog of like different games and things we've written configurations for. Like I said, basically any game that supports either keyboard or X input controls, we can handle this way. So, yep.
Just a game that I'd like to recommend is Quap.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It would be perfect for this.
Yeah, yeah. We could pretty. I didn't think about that, but we could absolutely write a clock control. Yeah, actually, now that's a good one to actually have the text visible because it's infinitely more frustrating.
I guess you can do your
Yeah.
but
Anyways, so yeah, so this is, it's sort of transition in a very literal sense because our sort of controls are transmitting, and it's about.
do you want to do the fast foot game? Set that up, and then like everybody else can join.
Yeah, we can do that.
You as a group of people need to communicate with whatever buttons you've got.
Okay.
You want to make that game work.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, so. Yeah. Let's make this something musical.
It's fine.
Okay, fine. Okay, so. Okay, so Gary's gonna put this stuff up there if you guys want to play.
I guess you can put it on screen.
Yeah. So the way you connect, you go to universal input. This URL, universalinput.greatreact.com. That's the controller. Yeah, sure. I can try. Yeah, I don't have like a text editor or something big enough to. Better? Yeah, and when you get in, you have to type a room name in. It's Hoopy Fruit, which is right here. Yeah, it's skipped out. I had to focus though in order for this to work.
Yeah.
Okay. It's up and running. Right?
Okay, well then there we go. I have buttons now.
Yeah. Does it still just say it? You get buttons.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
What was the room name?
Hoopy Fruit.
HOOPYFROOD.
Okay, let's try that again. Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna need to put in a
Someone's clicking already.
Just keep saying Leroy Jenkins.
All right, go ahead.
What is that, 164 times?
Yeah. So across the people who were playing, it was 164 times in 10 seconds. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we didn't test with Firefox specifically, but I mean,
Yeah. Question?
Chrome doesn't do WebSockets. Sorry, yeah, Firefox.
Can multiple people match the same button?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's yes.
Yeah. That's actually one of the configuration settings we have. So there's a mode where it will take so there's sort of a set of inputs that a game is configured to support. There's two modes where it will map out inputs until it's out of inputs, and there's one where it will overfill. So it will take the inputs and keep mapping them out until like everybody has one. So we have and it's configurable whether or not it does one or the other. So what's the behavior if you run them as inputs? I don't remember.
It makes sure that all the inputs are used at least once, and it makes sure that everybody has at least one input.
Okay.
And then after that, there's some logic of giving people extra.
Yeah, right.
So multiple people can have the same.
Yeah.
And also, you may have said you configure whether or not it shuffles all the buttons, and at what point it shuffles all the buttons.
Yeah.
So after like 2 minutes to shuffle all the buttons. 15 seconds if that's how you like it.
Yeah. We were testing it was shuffling every half second. So anyways, we have a couple examples. Well, I'll try to have a couple versions of this up and running in a couple different rooms, and I'll put some information up about what that is when we're sort of demoing. But yeah, so a little bit different. Not really a game per se, but it's sort of a meta game, right, or a tool more than anything. So.
Cool.
The sound should play once you start. That might be a bit loud though. Oh.
So you could both get maps, both of you going, build it on.
Okay, so we just did a basic platformer basically. We didn't get to do as much as we wanted to for it, but we got the basic mechanics down, and we did miss some of the story, but that's fine. It works. But yeah, you go around as this pigeon and deliver mail to mailboxes and collect change for the bus so you can get home because you can't fly very well. So you have like the mail up here, and then you. able to pay for the bus fare. We only have 87 cents. We need 150.
You remember how you get the pumps one?
You have to go. You can go from the back, or you can go from that tiny one.
You want
Yeah, I guess it.
it's my challenge. Guys, recording. I'll skip something.
I think that's the one.
Oh.
Super jump.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, we have enough money now. It's time to pay for the bus. The bus was originally gonna come up, but it like glitched at the last second, so now we just have the split screen.
Yep.
But,
Very
yeah.
nice.
Very nice.
No. There was gonna be Rose terrorize the pigeon originally. We ran out of time.
That's mean.
That's how the pigeon
Hey, don't even go over that, man. You're gonna flop it. What are you doing?
All right, I think it's down to you guys.
All right. Well, I've got an EXE to deliver in 1 second. Alright, well, we got the new version. Let me build it. Build and run. That would be nice. Okay, great. I have a flash drive somewhere as well. Close all this.
You're right.
Oh, nuts. Wait, did you say that okay, I need to zip this real quick. Yeah, because it oh, it is a flash drive. That's right. I might do it. I'm dumb. Sorry. But maybe okay. That's more than a minute. Let's talk about our game while we're waiting
Yeah,
for it to
please do.
just bring this up when it's ready. Pull it out. Okay, cool. So, I was the one who originally pitched Instant Transmission. The game is kind of a horror, cyberpunk, 80s inspired game where you're in this neon-y digital world trying to escape from these weird cyber demons and get to this radio antenna tower that's broadcasting a transmission that summoned all these demons in the first place. theoretically, along the way you can loot. At this state, there's no compelling reason to do so, but power-ups could be implemented in a video game.
You can loot, but you just don't get anything.
You just don't get anything out of it. It's disappointing every single time.
You don't find anything.
Yeah, navigate your way through this building without attracting too many demons in time, and you can eventually find the tower and turn it off. And that's our game. Is it on a flash drive yet, by any chance?
79%.
39%. Really? Okay.
79.
79. Okay, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Kit Heckman.
I'm Khadija Wally.
Jakob Weinstein.
Derek Weisgerber.
And we have another member named Yu Ping who's not here just because of traffic and living an hour away. Big shout out to her. She coded something that didn't end up in this final build, which I feel bad about. It was a scramble to get all the art assets in time, and a lot of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor. That would be randomly generated buildings for the layout of the level, which is what would make it an actual game. Otherwise, it would just be exactly the same every single time. But that's there somewhere, and I want to keep working on this. I want to get that implemented so that it can be played more than once and still be a challenge.
We have the 30 second diversifier.
Oh yeah, we did do that.
You can play
That's
it
right.
in 30 seconds or less.
Also, the game, I would argue, was inspired by the music video for Take On Me, because the game takes place kind of inside an old television, and it's got like Atari graphics and stuff. That music video took place inside a comic book, and had like rotoscoping, so I would argue that. I could even make an argument the game was made in an hour, and that it went from not a game to a game in the last hour.
I don't think that quite counts.
We
have the assets there, so.
What other diversifiers were there even? There were a lot. Yeah, I'd have to go through them, post-factuously to figure out. That would be it right there. So does anyone want to try playing this?
Got some volunteers here.
Okay, cool. Why don't you go for it? The controls are very simple. It's
spacebar and move and arrow keys.
Yep. Okay, so spacebar is how you interact with things. That's how you loot. You might, you have to press space.
There's a button you cannot click it.
All right. So
you gotta run away from the demons.
You can use the keypad. There you go. So buildings are all bad graphics inspired. Oh, watch out. Moving diagonally is he really panics. Moving diagonally. Yeah. Well, he's not in a good place right now. By the way, the radio antenna tower you're looking for is north. It's not. You can get very lost in the black if you let yourself. If you're not seeing buildings, you're not going in the right direction.
This for the random generation.
Yeah, random generation would have been really nice to prevent this from happening. They ganged up on you.
But you found all the demons.
You did find all the demons. Well, here, try again if you want. Yeah, there you go. No, it's not to the right. It's to the top. Yeah, kind of. Ooh.
There needs to be some kind of navigation.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to add. That or like a road you could follow that would give you an idea.
Yeah, that's something I should work on too.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, so now if you hold down spacebar, theoretically. Oh man, did that get broken at the last second?
No, I think he's
been doing nothing.
I think he's just outside the hitbox.
Well, shoot. Never mind. Game's unwinnable.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. The demons are gonna get you.
Run away until you die. That's the game.
Yep.
You won in spirit because you found it.
Yep. And given a little bit more time, there would be random generation for buildings, a better indication of where you're supposed to be going, and power-ups and lootable buildings. But as a framework, that's the game. Big shout-outs to everyone who did any coding. All the art looks great. You did the buildings, you did the protagonist, and you did the demons, and they all look really cool.
I just got coded up.
Thank you. This is the part that worked the least.
I'd say it worked fine.
Yeah.
The code is the part that makes it work at all.
Otherwise, you just have a bunch of
All right, so that's our set of games. Thanks to all of you. So for the time remaining, you should all go around, try each other's games, see which ones you like. You have an idea of which ones to try, having seen them all. And then when you've decided which game you like the most,